This week's video is a view of why you should not read Paper Towns by John Green. This video is if you have read the novel or if you're never planning on reading the novel, which I highly recommend, because this video is going to be full of spoilers and swearing and general mania. So, let's get on with the video. Where do I even begin? I feel like I should warn you guys in advance. Did not like this book. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Really not a fan of... Honestly, not a huge fan of John Green in general, but this book especially was just... First of all, because let's face it, the rest of this review is not going to be very complimentary of this book. So I feel like I should start with a compliment. Good news before the bad news and all that. Straight off the bat, I will admit that the opening paragraph for this novel, it got my attention, okay? I liked the opening paragraph. I thought it was a very good opening paragraph. It caught your attention, and then immediately lost my attention by using a whole bunch of American terminology like subdivisions and pseudo-towns and Jefferson Park Naval Base. To be fair, all of those very United States centric terminology did die down after the first chapter, but it was still confusing as hell to a non-USA person. So, that aside, this book was an unmitigated disaster. There is no other word. Well, sorry, there are plenty of other words, not words to be used in polite company. I just really did not like this book. So you're probably wondering by now what all these lovely, cute and colourful little tags are at the side, and it was not something that I was originally planning on doing. A lot of things in this video I was not originally planning on doing. But I got to page 4. Page 4 is when this happened. And in reality, it was page 2, okay? I'm gonna show you guys here because it is here. Here's the first tag, and it says that it's page 4, but the story doesn't actually start here. So technically, page 2. Second page, brilliant start. And there was the most disturbing, sexist, pedophilic type paragraph I have read since Lolita, and that's saying something. And I said, you know what? Let's start a trend. It's like that post from that one dude who listed all the deaths that were in the Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire series, which was hella impressive. Like, kudos to him, because I don't know how many tags I have here, probably 20 odd maybe. It was kind of a pain doing it, but it definitely highlights just how sexist this book is. I decided to get comfy because we're going to be here a while. So, to begin with, let's talk about the sticky notes. As I said, these sticky notes are all signs of really, honestly, quite terrifying sexism. This is not just your everyday #everyday sexism, okay? This is some serious shit that happens. And like, it's things that like horrified me, yes, and disgusted me, obviously. But also just they were so unnecessary. And they said nothing about the characters except made me hate them even more. So I have no idea why John Green even bothered to include a fraction of these scenes. I mean, why? I've heard him speak. I've seen YouTube videos. He seems like a good guy. And then just blah, misogyny. Okay, let's begin with what started this entire sticky noting adventure. Like I said, the second page. The second page is at the start of the whole Q and Margot finds a dead body in Jefferson Park. This is just before they found the body, and he's after arriving at the park with Margot, okay? Now, at the time, they were kids. They were 9 years old. They were children, that's fine. Currently, Q is 18 years old, and he is recalling this, he's remembering this, and 18-year-old Q is looking at 9-year-old Margot, and he says she was the most fantastically gorgeous creature that God had ever created. She's 9 years old. He is an adult. What the fuck? What? This is page 2. Guys, I don't think you well, you probably do understand if I have any female viewers. Page 2. and Q's a paedophile. It's pretty difficult to get to like him after that. Surprise, surprise. He has referred to Margot as this completely otherworldly, incredibly beautiful person throughout this entire novel, okay? It is such a stage where when we were first introduced to Margot, present day, after the whole find dead body guy, it's in the school corridor, and Q is leaving some classroom. He sees Margot with her boyfriend, and he says, "Oh, she's laughing, she's so beautiful, she must be laughing at something, must be really, really funny, her mouth is open, blah, 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 she's so amazing." Margot later tells him that she was screaming at her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend by then, but she was furious, she was upset, she was embarrassed, she was absolutely raving, and she was screaming at him, and Q was looking at this and going, "God, she's so hot when she laughs." What the fuck, okay? Either this boy has the observational range of a fucking teaspoon, or he is just a nice guy who is such a fucking asshat. This is going to be a fun rant. So that was page 2. We have, of course, so many, as you can see from all these lovely, bloody, coloured sticky notes. Q is not the only one who is sexist, and in fact he is the least sexist. He is still incredibly misogynistic, and I do not feel sympathy for him, I do not agree with him, I do not like him in the slightest. He is the low bar of this novel, okay? His so-called best friend, Ben, I want to throw acid in his face. Ben is absolutely revolting, okay? He's disgusting. He calls all women honey bunnies. The only time he ever refers to a woman is when he says he wants to have sex with her. There is no respect, there is no dignity, there is no even basic fucking human rights for women when it comes to Ben. And Q has said himself that he doesn't know why they're best friends. Ben is the stereotypical sidekick, goofy, lovable, fucking best friend trope. His only role in this story is to make Q seem less sexist. Okay, I need you to think about that, you guys. I need you to imagine sitting down to write a book, and you're writing this character, and as you're developing him, you think to yourself, "Oh, he's kind of a bit misogynistic, isn't he? What shall we do to fix this?" Now, the common, acceptable, respectful answer is, "Oh, how about we make him less sexist?" John Green, on the other hand, went, "Oh, how about we give him an even more sexist friend? He won't look as bad." I would tear this book in two if I wasn't donating it. Ben is just, he is so disgusting, he is so revolting, calling women honey bunnies to begin with. He even calls his own mother a honey bunny, okay? Like paging Dr. Bates. Why? Why does this character exist? Why? I have a lot of feelings about Ben, and none of them are good or even vaguely non-murderous. So, moving on from him, this whole bloody nice guy, Q referring to himself as a nice guy, I mean, like, it struck me somewhat unfair that an asshole like Jason Worthington would get to have sex with both Margot and Becca, when perfectly likeable individuals such as myself don't get to have sex with either of them. Boo-hoo, you fucking child. You're not a nice guy. Whoever calls themselves nice guys are automatically not nice guys. That isn't how that fucking works, okay? I can call myself a dinosaur. Unfortunately, I'm not. Why? Why do you think that is okay to say? Yeah, okay, Jason Worthington was an asshat. We hardly get to see him. What we do see of him, he's pretty horrible, but we don't actually get to see him develop. We don't get to know enough about him to decide whether he was having a bad day or whether he genuinely is an asshole. Either way, it doesn't matter. You cannot use someone else's ability to get laid for your own justification as to why you cannot, okay? He was not a nice guy. He is an immature child, okay? And for him to say that, and for him to spend the entire novel obsessing over Margot, and I mean like on the creepiest police interference needing restraining order level of obsession with this girl, and he regularly fantasizes having sex with her and them running off into the sunset together. She hasn't shown him the single tiniest, littlest bit of affection, okay? Not once. She hasn't even called him her friend. To her, he was something that could help. He had a car, she needed a car, she left. She's living her life, and he's there trying to track her down in the off chance that she'll be like, "Oh, my beautiful knight, you saved me, let's have sex." There is so much wrong with this child, and the irony of him saying that his two parents are psychologists, so he's pretty well developed. If that's well developed, I want to be fucking insane, because there is no scenario, no situation, no place in this entire fucking planet where that should be okay. I mean, even when Margot is not necessarily putting herself down, but when she's saying there's a lot of things she could have done differently, she briefly mentions one of her friends, and the only thing Hugh says in response is, she's not as hot as you. Boy, bye. No, she was not looking for compliments. She did not need it to be reassured of her hotness. Your willingness to have sex with her means nothing. Her life is a fucking disaster right now. And Hugh sitting there going, oh man, I wonder if she'll get laid. Like, there are not enough words in the English lexicon to adequately describe how much I want to set him on fire. Moving on to the sixth point. Look at this. Well, you can't look at this. I will read it for you because it will make you want to scream as well. You can't divorce Margot, the person, from Margot, the body. In other words, Margot is just her body. Her personality does not matter because it means nothing compared to her body. He just straight up said he sees her as an object for him to have sex with. He spends the entire novel trying to track her down and have sex with her, despite the fact she did not want to be found. She left for a fucking reason, Q. You are not the exception, you are part of the problem. And there are so many homophobic remarks, and there are one or two scenes of racism. One of Q's friends, Radar, and he is literally the token black friend. He says himself towards the end of the novel, you can't be racist to your token black friend. He is literally breaking the fourth wall on how whitewashed this book is. I would not be surprised if a 16-year-old testosterone-ridden stereotypical jock wrote this novel, okay? In fact, it was not. It was John Green, who is a stereotypical nerdy guy, which also says a lot. If we're basing things on stereotypes, John, you get your rewatches, so I cannot, there are so many just horrendous scenes in this, okay? And I will admit, there are one or two, very few, but there do exist scenes where men are also put under this whole stereotypical gender role. There is a part where I think it's Margot has telling Q they're going to break into someplace, and Q is like, no, we can't do that, and she does say, God, grow some nuts. Yeah, the world is inherently sexist, and it is women that are put down at every single corner, but there are instances where men are expected to be the super hyper-masculine, macho man, you know, brave guy, firefighters will carry you out of a burning building. You know, double standards, they do exist. So there are instances, very, very few instances in the book where the men are put under as much pressure, I suppose, gender pressure, as the women are, but they are few and far between, and they are nothing compared to the amount of misogynism. Every single paragraph has at least one sentence by Q about how hot Margot is. Even when they break into SeaWorld, he says, I could smell her next to me, her shampoo like lilacs and the smell of her skin like crushed almonds. She just jumped out of a fucking moat. She smells like nothing but sewage. She is literally a mess right now. She has climbed out of a sewage-infested, waist-deep moat after spending the entire night running and obviously sweating and, you know, just generally disgusting right now. And he is here saying, oh, her shampoo was like lilacs, her skin the smell of crushed almonds. There's no possible way that you could smell these things on a good day, let alone in the absolute mess that she is right now. But, you know, he's got to objectify her, so he has to say something. It is horrendous. And like I said, the worst part is Q isn't even the most misogynistic out of everyone. I mean, Ben, he's just so gross. The only one who is even vaguely okay is Radar. And I say vaguely because he does not stop his friends from saying what they do, which is completely unacceptable, okay? Like, I don't care if you don't laugh at the joke. The fact that you're letting your friends say the joke is contributing to freaking sexism in this world today, okay? It is just, oh, it is so disgusting. And there are so many horrible things. Even the names of the cars. Ben's car is called Rode Hard and Put Away Wet. And the car is a she because of fucking course. Once more, just slotting women in next to objects because that's all they are to Ben and to the entire fucking cast list of this novel, okay? It is absolutely revolting. I just How did anyone even get past the first page? I got past the first page because I have a personal vendetta against not finishing things. But for everyone else, I mean, you guys, seriously, how the hell did you read this novel without wanting to vomit or then proceeding to vomit? The only reason Radar seems to have any sense of decency is because he already has a girlfriend. And Angela is a fucking queen, okay? She would slaughter him if he said something this horrible about not just another woman, about just women in general, okay? Like, this is horrendous. I mean, even here, Ben is talking to Lacey. Lacey, who, by the way, I was not meant to like and ended up being one of the best characters of the book. He was crowding her, slumping slightly so he could talk towards her face. Talking to Ben could make me feel a little claustrophobic sometimes, and I wasn't even a hot girl. So let me break this down in case you did not get that. In these 2 sentences, 2 out of the entire novel, Q sees Ben crowding this girl against her locker so she couldn't leave, and instead of saying, "Oh, that's a dick move, what are you doing?" he says, "Oh yeah, Ben sometimes does that. You know, it doesn't really feel good when he does it to me, but I'm not a hot girl." Implying, of course, that if you are a hot girl, it's perfectly okay to be trapped against your own fucking locker, unable to leave because this asshole is trying to talk to you. Moving on. Once more, just blatant sexism. The party, oh my gosh, the party. The party where Becca was sleeping with, I think it was Jace Worthington. Doesn't make any difference. Point is, Q opens the door, sees that Becca is about to get naked with this guy, and instead of going, "Oh shit, I just walked in people having sex," and closing the door, he stops and he stands there and he says he would take any chance to see Becca naked. So consent just isn't a thing in this book, huh? All the disgusting, lewd comments the boys make, all the bloody times Q objectifies Margot, like, to such a terrifyingly obsessive level. I mean, the one time here, when I started to love Macy, and unfortunately this happened to her. They're after going back to the abandoned mall, and the security guy from that building, Gus, he is there. And he says, "You know, Margot used to come here. She seemed pretty depressed." And Lacey immediately stands up for her best friend and says, "Well, if she was depressed, you didn't talk to her about her? You didn't ask her how she was? You didn't ask her why, 13 years old, she was hanging around in these abandoned, worn-out places?" And his response is, "Jesus, somebody calm that bitch down." Because, of course, expressing emotions makes you insane. Here's the thing, okay? I feel like every woman needs to know this. Every man definitely needs to know this. You know when women are on their periods, or anyone with a vagina is on their periods, not necessarily women, and apparently we get moody, and, you know, we get upset easier, we get angry easier, and that has become a fucking slogan for if a woman simply does not disagree with you, immediately a lot of guys jump to, "Oh, you must be on your period," because obviously a woman having a valid opinion cannot be attributed to anything other than hormones. The thing is, when people are on their periods, the hormone that causes all of these emotions, and the hormone that actually almost triples in amount during those few days of hell, testosterone. You know, the hormone that is in men. So every time you're calling a girl a crazy bitch, or you're calling her moody, or you're calling her upset because she's on her period, that is the time of month when we are more like you. Think on it. So, coming back to this, of course, there's more bloody sexism, obviously, more misogynism, even more, obviously, but also men putting themselves down and men putting their friends down. When Ben calls Q and says, "Hey, we're having a party, you need to come," and Q is like, "Nah, I'm doing something else," aka tracking down this girl in a stalkerish manner, despite the fact she does not want to be tracked down, Ben says he can drink wine like the pretty little girl you are. Because, obviously, wine is not masculine, despite the fact it being the exact same alcohol content as beer. This is just... there are so many scenes. Every paragraph I read, there's at least one sexist comment. I mean, even the irony of this line in particular. Radar and Q are looking at this woman in the car next to them, and they're trying to decide what her life was like. So they have all these different theories, blah, blah, blah. And Radar says, no, she just has a boyfriend. And Q says, well, actually, she's wearing a wedding ring. And the response is, she's just wearing that so pervs like you don't come onto her. Now, all issues with objectifying that woman and not allowing her to make her own choices, because obviously whatever the man says has to be true about her aside, she's just wearing that so pervs like you don't come onto her. What the fuck do you think you've been doing the last 258 pages except coming onto women who did not want you to come onto them? I believe the phrase is irony. Those are the highlights of the sexist reel that is Paper Towns by John Green. Honestly, there is so little else that I can talk about in relation to this book. I mean, the entire plot about finding her and finding these posters and circling things, and there's the poem by Walt Whitman that I assume is just recommended reading for all United States high schools. Pretty weird thing to do. Anyway, the mystery itself does have interesting parts. I will give it that much. There are a few times where you're like, oh, they've hit a roadblock, and then suddenly they find something else, and it's like, oh, cool, the mystery continues. So that whole detective side of things was interesting, it was enjoyable. Every single thing else aside from that, sexist, misogynistic bullshit that no one should have to suspect their eyes to. So, I hope you guys enjoyed my super long rant about the unmitigated disaster that is this novel. I will not be apologizing for it in the slightest. I hope you guys will not read this book. If you have read this book, I am so sorry. And, let's pretend this book was never written and just burn all existential copies, because it is absolutely frightening to think that young girls are reading this and thinking that Q's behavior, this protective shining knight in armor trying to rescue her from herself, that's fucking bullshit. Margot is the most independent person in this book. She's the most adult person in this book. Yeah, so supposedly running away from home seems like a crazy mood. The fact is, she's 18 years old. She wasn't running away from home. She was moving out. She is an adult. She's allowed to make her own decisions, as difficult as that might be for the men in this book to understand. Don't read this book. Please do not. Or, in fact, do read this book if you want to use it as an example for what not to look for in a guy when you want a relationship. So in saying that, I hope you guys like this video. Paper Towns by John Green, do not recommend. And I will talk to you guys soon. Please let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this disaster. Also let me know if there are any other books you'd like me to review, any videos you'd like to see, things like that. And I will talk to you guys next week.